Is it working? Okay. Awesome. Thanks, folks. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming in. What an amazing few days it's been at a conference. I'm so thrilled here to be chatting with you. My name is Akash Gupta. I'm a director of product at Ava Labs. Today I'm going to be talking to you about unlocking the future of consumer experiences in Web3. I need a minute. Okay. Awesome. Quick show of hands. How many people in the crowd are developers in here and have actually built apps? Okay, awesome. How many people have never created a wallet before? All right. Okay, I see one there. How many people have at least 5 different wallets that they use? Okay, great. And lastly, how many people know what bridging really is on Core Wallet? Okay. I want to cater my conversation based on the crowd and kind of based on what people would really find most interesting. Awesome. I'd like to start off with a story, actually. It's June 2022. I'm at a small conference. It's 120 people totally, and it's kind of the end of the conference. And I'm in this room for about 20 minutes, deep diving with this blockchain expert. And he tells me something that really gets me thinking. He tells me something that just tells me what's the most important thing in the industry today, right? And I'd like to share that with you all. He said something on the lines of, the best technology won't always win, but the team that incessantly solves the most user-pressing problems out there will in the long run stand victorious. Now here we are after building Avalanche, right, which is one of the most groundbreaking technologies in the world in terms of its consensus mechanism, and also building subnets. What do we really do and where do we really go from here, right? We did have the best technology, and now we wanted to figure out how to abstract and move away from the best technology out there to the most user-friendly products. So we had some challenges ahead of that. And today I'd like to sort of talk through some of the challenges that we identified at Ava Labs, the key challenges in the consumer space. After that, I want to talk about some of the few things that we built to address some of those challenges, and of course, it's a work in progress. You'll hear the word core a little bit more often. Of course, you see it on your lanyards and everywhere around the conference. And lastly, I'd like to leave you all with 4 nuggets on where the space is really going. I hope that's helpful to you all. And finally, I'd love to stay back and answer any questions that you all might have at the end of the conference. All right, fragmented UX. We've heard this a lot. Whether you're a pro user, a veteran, or noob, you're going to have a difficult time actually moving from dApp to dApp, wallet to wallet. And it's actually a really, really difficult experience. It's clunky, even on the Avalanche ecosystem itself. Using different wallets, different dApps is really, really difficult. I won't spend too much time on this because people have spoken about this a lot in the conference already. I highly recommend checking out Kieran's talk yesterday, Michael's talk yesterday, and Connor and Gergie's talk earlier this afternoon as well. Of course, they deep dive into some of the more developer-facing challenges as well, which I think you all will find really beneficial. But what I would actually like to talk about and moving forward is some of the high-level challenges in the space, right? We know fragmentation is an area. We also know that there are some unproven use cases out there, and there's lack of education in this space in general, right? When I have to explain why I moved into Web3 or crypto in general, it's actually a difficult sell. When I was telling my grandmother, she's like, "Why did you do it?" People don't actually understand what exact stage we're at in this industry right now and how early it is. In addition, obviously, there's poor UX and onboarding, and Wallet Connect is actually a really interesting product that we've actually integrated with that is solving some amazing user problems. The second area is, of course, security and trust. There's poor due diligence on a lot of products and projects out there, which is actually making people even more risk-averse, right? Security and hack concerns are ubiquitous. It's everywhere right now, and we're not really sure how we're going to sort of solve all these things. In addition, the debacle of all the centralized exchanges last year with Celsius, Voyager, FTX doesn't really help our cause. And I think in general, Web3 as a term is like a wrapper around crypto, right? When you say crypto or you work in crypto, I think Web3 is actually more of a general term that helps the industry move forward a little bit more. But because people forget that crypto actually is cryptographics and cryptography, but they think of it as like the dark web, which is often not really helpful. So there might be a little bit of a branding concern there that we need to solve for with education. Lastly, obviously, people are scared about market volatility, scalability, can we hit our throughputs? environmental concerns around proof of work versus proof of scale. People don't already understand how much electricity is really used. And of course, there's regulatory uncertainty that we're obviously no stranger to. Okay, keeping this in mind, this is what we built, right? We built Core. Core is your free all-in crypto command center for all your dApps, NFTs, bridges, subnets, NFTs, and beyond. Of course, so Core was actually built keeping in mind the end user first. So we wanted to make sure it's available across all our devices, whether it's your browser extension, your mobile app on iOS and Android, or it is your web app, right? We wanted to make sure that you get what device you really want to use it on. In addition to that, we wanted to make sure that you have interoperability. Primitives already baked into it. We have your bridge, and everything that you wanted to see is in sort of one command center. Another reason why we actually built it is to solve for a lot of those consumer challenges I just identified earlier, right? Scalability. We wanted to make sure subnets have a home and make sure that you get this dedicated explorer per subnet that you can only get in Core, right? Today, you don't get that first-class support anywhere else except here. So you kind of get that ability to scale within the app, within the ecosystem directly. And also sort of showcase all these amazing projects that are building and launching on Avalanche every single day. There's a Discover section, which I highly recommend you to check out. Okay, I think in order to really talk about what we're building in the future, it was important to kind of take you through the past and the present. So thank you for bearing with me. I think I'd like to talk about those 4 nuggets now that I feel are going to be super useful as we think about the next year, the next 2 years, and when I'm standing here again, hopefully next year in Avalanche Summit 3, we can actually talk a little bit more about all the developments we've had on our roadmaps here. So the first thing is actually interconnected devices. Now, people always talk about being Apple-esque, being Google-esque, and sort of having your messages on your Apple Watch, having it on your iPad, on your iPhone, and on your MacBook, and being able to have this interconnected system. And the Web2 ecosystem around what Apple, Google, and Facebook did, they did solve for a lot of things, right? So we actually want to provide this cross-device compatibility framework through Core and through the ecosystem of Core. We want to provide that way that you can actually make sure that this is done in a way that's super useful to you, super user-friendly, and you get your asset parity across whatever device type you really want to use. In addition to that, there are some areas where you actually need to go from bridge to bridge, or from subnet to subnet, or EVM to non-EVM, and we actually want to just provide that in one unified umbrella within Core. So this interconnected devices ecosystem actually solves for a lot of those problems, and we're going to continue to chip away and build in that direction. This is an extremely important area to drive the next wave of consumer adoption, growth, and to bring the next billion users on chain and the next trillions of assets on chain. Of course, just because we're being cross-device compatible doesn't mean we cut corners on security, on privacy. We want to be a team that's dedicated with a security and privacy center. You want to make sure that when you're actually signing transactions, it automatically detects what transactions are coming from blacklist wallets or accounts that were just not there out there or have been flagged before. And you can actually see this in your privacy center itself by blocking things. So fraud detection is a very important thing. And people always talk about abstracting complexity. And I think it's very good that people talk about it. But in this case, right, we don't want people to be blind signing transactions. You want to make sure that there's clear human readability on the product, right? You want to make sure that you're being able to see where this transaction is coming from and where it's really going to. And making sure that's available across the ecosystem is extremely important. So actually, consistency and standardization is what I'm talking about, and we can actually really benefit from some of what Web2 has given us, right? They've definitely paved the way in terms of design best practices, and we actually don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? Just the way we talked about composability in Web3, right? We can actually build on top of composable Legos that were on Web2 as well and take advantage of that. The second area is around onboarding. Now, onboarding is actually a very interesting topic. So when we think about onboarding, obviously we talk about registration, login, authentication, recovery. But at the end of the day, it's all about freedom and choice, right? Through Core, we actually want to be able to provide users the ability to pick and choose what they want to use to log in. And Wallet Connect was doing something similar. Well, if you have a smart contract wallet, or if you have an email, you can decide what it is you want to log in with, right? It shouldn't kind of be force functioned into you, right? In addition to that, if you have a ledger, we actually provide all these different capabilities. And I see a world where a user will basically be able to decide how they want to onboard and how they want to log in. So we want to provide all these capabilities, and some of these are already there. And of course, if you want to actually use some of the Web2 incumbents in the space, which is like login with Web2 SSO, which is Facebook, login with Apple, login with Google, you can go ahead and do that. However, the world is changing, and I'll talk a little bit about that in terms of a decentralized identity, which is something that's extremely close to my heart. This time, I think we obviously solve for some of the user experience challenges with the frictionless user journey and flexible minimalistic design. But we want to take it a step further, right? We know that some of the challenges were solved with doing the right thing. So the Web2 world did actually give us the right thing in terms of getting the next billion users on chain, right? Facebook went mobile, and we got all these people who are off chain who come on mobile and get onto Facebook. But while they did the right thing, they did not do it right. And through decentralization, through a focus on decentralized storage, with Filecoin, Arweave, and other sort of solutions out there, we want to make sure that we actually gradually move away from these intermediaries and do it right the second time or third time around. Awesome. The third thing is decentralized identity. And people talk about this a lot. But what is decentralized identity? So DID is actually an emerging concept in the Web3 world where users can manage their PII information, right? It's an area where you actually get to figure out how account management really works. And at the end of the day, at the core of DID is your account, your wallet, or your private key. So DID is actually a concept that's emerged over the past couple years now, and there are a lot of people actually moving into this model. The idea here is instead of kind of giving away all your information to these incumbents in the space, right? Tomorrow, when you actually go and you just go on a website and it says, hey, log in with Facebook, log in with Google, why don't you just have login with wallet? And then it actually has this ecosystem around it, which is things around your verifiable credentials, which actually live on a decentralized storage solution. You have aspects of key management, right, which actually are, again, decentralized. And it forms this idea of a decentralized profile or a decentralized identity. Now, a lot of the stuff that actually happened in this space was done in a way where we actually didn't think about what's best for the user. We thought about what's best for the businesses. Right? It was all about centralization of information, making sure that people can come on board. But what if you get an option to control how much you want to share? Right? Again, there are a lot of technologies that are doing this. There's obviously ZKs that are out there. But like I said, we want to move away from building the best technologies to actually building the most user-friendly products. Because technologies are being built, primitives are being built, but who's actually using them? Right? So think about this time when you were in college, or you probably are in college right now, and you actually go to a bar and you show your ID, right? And out there, they actually look at everything on your identification card, right? They can see your age, your gender, your height, your eye color, whether you're an organ donor or not. They can actually see your age, but you actually just want to show them that you're above 21 or above 18. But they can see your exact address and mailing address as well. So what if there was a way where we could actually just decide how much we wanted to show them by abstracting the technology of ZKs or whatever is below, and just making sure they see that, okay, this person is legal to buy alcohol or legal to drink or whatever it is, right? So these use cases are going to be super important because identity management tooling is something that we're heavily investing and building towards. And we want to provide these guardrails to our end users, to the consumers, to the customers, to make sure that all of this will be part of Core. Happy to chat about this more so later, but another area here is NTTs, non-transferable tokens. So this is something like your degree, right, or your diploma, and you want to make sure that that stays with you throughout, but it's not issued in a sort of centralized form. And a lot of use cases are actually emerging here, which we can chat about a little after as well. The fourth area is interoperability. And I wanted to talk a little bit about a product that we're actually building. The team has been working hard on this, and it's actually coming out in June. I see some people in the crowd here who've worked really closely on this, so thank you for all of the work here. Is native interoperability exclusively available only via the Core ecosystem. It's called Teleporter. Today, obviously, we have the bridge, which powers a lot of use cases where you can seamlessly connect from one chain to the other chain. But subnets are the present and also the future. And we have so many new subnets coming on chain that we just need to figure out a way so that they feel at home. So subnets no longer need to be islands, right? You can talk from one subnet to another, and I basically have arbitrary messages that are passed from one subnet to another. And this is exactly why we actually baked in Teleporter within Core. So if you see here, you can actually see how we are just transferring assets, tokens, NFTs, entities, whatever it is, any information that you want to share from one subnet to another subnet. This could be permissioned or permissionless, and users can actually build and own their own sort of relayer on top of it. So primitives are being built at the bottom, but endless use cases are being used on top of it. One example of a use case is, let's say you move from California to Massachusetts or to New York, and you got your driver's license in California. And I see California is really forward with its movement towards the DMV actually is moving there to be on chain. So if they actually just use a subnet, which is obviously permissioned in here, they can transfer all their KYC, KYB information and just move it to the Massachusetts subnet. And in a permissioned way, you can actually just do this so seamlessly. You don't have to go to the DMV and renew your license again and again and again. So a lot of government use cases are actually being formed here as well. In addition to that, of course, gaming use cases are being formed as well. The only place where we have some interoperability today is banking, where you can actually move your funds from one legacy bank to another bank, but that too is clunky and has a lot of steps, and you have to sometimes wait for 3 days. All right, so parting thoughts. I did talk a little bit about digital interoperability, and I think obviously our level of interoperability is fairly limited today, right? If I buy a song on Spotify, I can't really buy the song or use the same song that I already paid for on Apple. Right? If I bought some in-game purchases, I can't really move to another game and do that as simply. Subnets and Teleporter are basically solving for a lot of that. And as we scale that, that's actually going to become even more user-friendly. Identity and ownership, right? We already talked a little bit about that. And what I'm really realizing is users are waiting for a good solution. With ChatGPT just around, right? People are just knowing that, okay, wow, why didn't I just move to this solution a lot earlier? But it's just coming out now. So the idea is if you show users something a little bit better, they're not going to sort of be loyal to a product like Google or to Microsoft. They're actually just going to be able to use the primitive and use that on their own. So we're seeing a lot of users clearly move from one technology that is out there to another. And we think of Core as that, right? We think of Core as that sanctuary that basically blends Web 2 into Web 3 and provides consumers an amazing home to interact with whatever they want. Thank you.